The first time I see the notice, it's taped to my front door like a scarlet letter, flapping in the breeze that always seems to smell like chlorine and cheap fertilizer in this subdivision. My name is Kelsey Hartman. I'm 34, and I live in a neatly planned neighborhood outside Phoenix, where the stucco houses look so alike you could sleepwalk into the wrong one. I stand there in my flip-flops, still holding my cold brew from the corner cafe, reading the bright red letters shouting violation. My stomach does a slow, sinking roll, the kind you get when your phone buzzes with a text that just says, "Call me." If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comments if you'd ever stand up to a petty HOA like this one. I peel the notice off the door. It claims my flagpole, a slender aluminum one that's been in my backyard for 3 years, is in egregious noncompliance with the neighborhood bylaws. Egregious? The word feels theatrical, like they think I'm running an illegal fireworks stand or harboring a pet alligator back there. The letter is signed by Meredith Campbell, our HOA board president, who has the tightest bun and the coldest smile in a 3-mile radius. I walk around the side of the house, the rocks crunching under my heels, and look at the flagpole. It's exactly 20 feet tall, just like it was when I put it up to honor my dad, who served in the Army for half his life. He used to say, "Never let anyone tell you your love of country is too loud." At the time, I thought it was a bit corny. He had an American flag on everything, from t-shirts to his old pickup's bumper sticker. But now with him gone, that flag feels like a piece of him waving in the Arizona wind. Apparently, Meredith and her HOA cronies think it's an affront to property values. They claim the pole exceeds the decorative height allowance, which sounds like something someone made up at a wine and brie meeting just to boss people around. I checked the date, July 1st. They've given me 72 hours to dismantle and remove the flagpole before fines begin accruing at $50 per day. 72 hours before Independence Day. The timing isn't lost on me. I text my best friend Jenna, who lives a few blocks over, and tell her what happened. She calls instantly. "Girl, are you serious? They waited all year to drop this on you right before the 4th? "Apparently," I say, glancing at the pole again. The flag flutters, innocent and oblivious. "You know it's because of Karen." Karen isn't her real name, but it might as well be. Her actual name is Cheryl, and she's the one who reports everyone to the HOA. If a kid rides a bike on the sidewalk without a helmet, she's snapping photos. If you leave your trash bin out past sundown, she's emailing the board. I've caught her more than once peeking over my back wall, her beady little eyes scanning for transgressions like she's the moral authority of the cul-de-sac. I picture her in her kitchen right now, gleefully stirring her chamomile tea and planning her next complaint. "Are you going to take it down?" Jenna asks. I rub my temple, feeling the heat creep into my scalp. The rational part of me says to comply. Avoid the fines, keep the peace, don't be the neighborhood pariah. But something deeper, older starts simmering in my chest, a defiance I haven't felt in years. "No," I say finally, surprising even myself. "I'm not taking it down." Jenna lets out a low whistle. "Well, you know they're going to make your life hell." "Probably," I admit, but there's a part of me that feels lighter just for saying it. That night, I can't sleep. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling fan, thinking about how the rules always seem to serve the people who already feel powerful. The HOA, the board, the Karens, maybe they're all just bullies hiding behind fine print. Around 2 a.m, I get up and walk into the kitchen. The tile is cool under my bare feet. I pour a glass of water, but instead of calming down, my mind keeps spinning. I think about the flagpole, about my dad, about every time I've been told to sit down and be quiet. I open my laptop and start scrolling through string lights online. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for yet, just that if they think my flagpole is an eyesore, they haven't seen anything. My cursor hovers over a set of heavy-duty outdoor LED strands, commercial grade, waterproof, bright enough to be seen from space if you string up enough of them. The reviews say they're easy to connect in long chains. I start to smile. I check the delivery estimate. They can be here by tomorrow afternoon. I imagine the look on Meredith's face when she sees the pole not only still standing, but lit up brighter than a Vegas strip club. My heart rate kicks up a notch. I click buy now. And just like that, my little act of defiance begins. The morning sun glares through my blinds like an interrogation lamp, but for once, I don't feel like hiding under the covers. I throw on jeans and a tank top and head to the porch to check for packages. No lights yet, just the usual stack of coupons and an envelope from the HOA as if they can't help themselves. I tear it open, half expecting a second threat, but it's only a friendly reminder about the neighborhood block party. The irony makes me snort. Come celebrate community spirit with the same people threatening me with fines. I shove it in the recycling and go back inside. By noon, the delivery truck finally pulls up. The driver wrestles 3 massive boxes onto my walkway. The labels boast 1,000 LED lights, multicolor, commercial grade. It looks like I'm planning to bedazzle a theme park, and honestly, I kind of love it. I drag the boxes into the garage and cut them open, running my hands over the coils of thick rubber sheath cables. Each strand feels heavy and real, not flimsy like holiday lights. The bulbs are big, about the size of golf balls, and in the Arizona sun, they'll probably be hot enough to fry an egg. I can practically hear my dad's voice in my head. You know you don't have to do this to prove a point. But I think he'd also understand that sometimes proving a point is exactly what keeps you sane. I spend the afternoon testing each strand, plugging them into an outlet by the garage. They flicker to life, brilliant red, white, and blue. The colors are so bright they paint the stucco walls in stripes. Halfway through, my neighbor Rick pokes his head over the fence. Rick's retired Air Force, the kind of guy who still mows his lawn in perfect diagonal lines. You planning to land planes out here? He jokes. Only if they bring beer, I shoot back, and he grins. He steps into my yard and surveys the coils. Need a hand? I hesitate. Part of me wants to do this alone, but there's something reassuring about having an ally. Sure, if you don't mind. He glances around, lowers his voice. Meredith already called me this morning. She asked if I'd talk some sense into you. Of course she did, I say, rolling my eyes. Rick chuckles. Told her I'd try, so consider this me trying. He gestures at the lights. But also, if you're doing it, you might as well do it right. For the next few hours, we work side by side in the blazing heat, wrapping the flagpole from top to bottom in meticulous spirals. Every time we finish a strand, I stand back and imagine how it will look lit up against the navy sky. At some point, Jenna shows up with iced coffee and a mischievous smile. Operation Patriot Sparkle is in full swing, huh? Pretty much, I say, wiping sweat off my forehead. She hands me the drink. I posted about it on my Instagram. People are obsessed. You're basically a folk hero now. I raise an eyebrow. A folk hero with $1,000 electric bill. Worth it, she says, and I can't disagree. Around dusk, we finish the last strand. The flagpole looks like a dormant firework waiting to explode. Rick helps me zip tie the final extension cords and test the generator. When everything hums to life, I feel a little thrill of satisfaction. Before he leaves, Rick pats my shoulder. You know, if she tries to fine you, there's a state law about flag displays. She can't override that. I read that too, I say. Not that she cares. He nods. Well, just remember, bullies only win when you back down. When he's gone, I sit on the back steps with Jenna, watching the pole fade into darkness. It feels symbolic, like the calm before something I can't quite predict. You sure you're ready for the fallout? She asks. I don't answer right away. I think about how often I've swallowed my opinions, how many times I've told myself it's easier not to make waves. I'm tired of that. Yeah, I say finally. I'm ready. Jenna squeezes my hand. Then I'll be here. Later that night, as I'm locking up, I see Karen, Cheryl, standing on her patio, phone in hand, obviously recording. The little red light of her camera glows in the dark. I lift my chin and wave, a polite sugar-sweet wave I know will make her seethe. Inside, I can't help thinking, if she wants a show, she's going to get the brightest one this neighborhood has ever seen. I go to bed feeling something I haven't felt in a long time, like I'm not afraid of being disliked anymore. The next morning, I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating against the nightstand. It's still early, barely 6, and the sky outside is pink and gold. For a split second, I wonder if I dreamed the whole thing, but then I see the boxes of extension cords stacked by the back door, waiting to be uncoiled. The caller ID says unknown, so I let it go to voicemail. Within seconds, it dings with a message. I'm tempted to ignore it, but curiosity gets the better of me. Kelsey, this is Meredith Campbell. I've been made aware that you're preparing an unauthorized lighting installation on your property. I must remind you this is in direct violation of HOA Guidelines Sections 4.7 and 9.3. I strongly urge you to cease and desist immediately. Failure to do so will result in immediate fines and possible legal escalation. Her voice is so clipped and haughty, it sounds like she's auditioning for a role as an evil headmistress. I almost expect her to say, "You've brought shame upon this entire community." I roll my eyes and set the phone down. In the kitchen, I brew coffee and watch the flagpole out the window. Even unlit, it looks proud. For a moment, I think about my dad again. He used to say some people need rules to feel powerful. I pull my hair back, grab my phone, and text Jenna, "Today's the day." She replies with 3 American flag emojis, and I'll bring reinforcements. By mid-morning, the reinforcements arrive. Jenna shows up first with her husband, Ben, who's carrying a toolbox like we're about to build a space shuttle. A few minutes later, Rick comes by with extra zip ties and an industrial-grade power strip. I'm surprised when Kelly, who lives 2 houses down, knocks on the gate with her teenage son. Kelly has never exactly been warm. She's always seemed like the type who's worried about property values and resale trends. But today, she smiles shyly and says, "We thought you could use some help." I feel a little ache in my chest. I always assumed most of my neighbors were silently rooting for Meredith. Maybe I was wrong. We spend the next few hours carefully running cords along the ground, securing them with landscape stakes so nobody trips. Ben helps me rig the generator so we can test it without blowing out the circuit. At one point, Jenna starts humming the national anthem under her breath, and I laugh so hard I almost drop a spool of wire. "Don't tempt me to sing it," I warn. "I will absolutely do it, and it will be off-key." Around noon, we take a break. Everyone sprawls out on my patio chairs, sipping lemonade Jenna brought. The air smells like sun-baked gravel and a little like impending rebellion. "I heard Meredith's planning to come by in person tonight," Kelly says, glancing over her shoulder like we were plotting espionage. "Good," I say, feeling a jolt of adrenaline. "She can see the whole show." Ben grins. "You should charge admission." "Right? Maybe start a GoFundMe for the fines," Jenna adds, and everyone laughs. But underneath the humor, I can feel the tension building. It's like a kettle whistling somewhere in the background, ready to scream. By late afternoon, everything is in place. We do a final test, plugging in one section at a time. The lights glow so bright, they paint the walls and fence in stripes, and for a moment, I swear the flagpole looks like it's blazing with electricity. Kelly's son takes a step back and says, "Whoa, that's epic." It is, I agree, feeling something fierce and unshakable in my chest. After everyone leaves, I sit alone on the back step. The sky is turning purple, the first stars peeking through. I think about how this started as just wanting to keep a flagpole, and now it's become something bigger, like a test of whether I'm willing to take up space and say no to being intimidated. I pull out my phone and record a quick video. "Hi, everyone. This is Kelsey. A lot of you have been asking what's going on with the flagpole and the HOA. Well, you'll see tonight. Stay tuned." I post it to my Instagram story, feeling my pulse in my fingertips. Around 8, I get a text from Jenna. "Want me to come back over for the big moment?" "Yes," I reply. By 9, she and Ben are back, standing with me in the backyard, flashlights in hand. I check the connections one last time, my heart hammering like I'm about to step on stage. "Ready?" Jenna asks. "Ready," I say. I flip the generator switch. One by one, the lights flicker on, first a few, then hundreds, then all thousand. The backyard explodes in colors so bright I have to shield my eyes. Red, white, and blue dance across the walls, and the gravel, and the tips of the cacti along the fence line. The flag itself glows like it's been set aflame in the best possible way. We stand there in stunned silence for a second, and then Jenna lets out a low whistle. "Holy crap," she says. "You just turned your backyard into Times Square." I laugh. A real, bubbling laugh that feels like shaking off years of trying to be inoffensive. Somewhere behind us, I hear a door slam. I turn around to see Meredith standing at the fence, phone in hand, her mouth a thin, furious line. I give her the same polite wave I offered Cheryl. "You'll be hearing from the board," she calls over the fence, her voice tight. "I'm sure I will," I say, and it's impossible to keep the smile out of my voice. Because right now, for the first time in years, I feel absolutely unafraid. It's almost midnight when the first knock comes at the door. Not the polite kind, more like the angry, open up right now kind. I glance at Jenna and Ben, who are still perched on my sofa, and for a second, none of us move. My heart's thudding in my throat, but I remind myself I knew this was coming. I flip on the porch light and open the door to find Meredith standing there with her clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. She's dressed in a crisp blouse that probably cost more than my entire grocery bill for the month, and her hair is pulled back so tight it looks like it might snap. Behind her is Cheryl, our neighborhood Karen incarnate, clutching her phone like she's ready to start live streaming my downfall. Kelsey, Meredith begins, voice sugary but strained, I've come to document this egregious violation. You were notified of your noncompliance. I was, I say calmly, even though adrenaline is buzzing in my fingertips. She gestures behind me, where the flagpole blazes bright enough to light up half the yard. And yet here we are. I cross my arms over my chest. Yes, here we are. Jenna appears at my shoulder. Do you have to do this now? It's the middle of the night. Meredith flicks her eyes over Jenna like she's a smudge she'd rather wipe away. This is a community matter. If Miss Hartman insists on flaunting the rules, she leaves us no choice. I almost laugh at the word flaunting. If I'd left the pole bare, it would have been invisible. But lit up like this? It's undeniable. I'm not sure I've ever been so proud of anything in my life. Cheryl starts recording, panning her phone slowly across the yard like she's narrating a true crime documentary. Residents are being subjected to this unsanctioned spectacle, she mutters, as if she expects me to cringe in shame. Instead, I smile. Hi, Cheryl. Her mouth tightens. She lowers the phone without replying. Meredith clears her throat and lifts her clipboard. I am hereby notifying you that effective immediately, the HOA will be levying a fine of $500 for failure to remove the unauthorized flagpole, plus an additional $200 for the lighting installation. Daily fines will continue until full compliance is achieved. I let her finish her speech, then reach into my back pocket and pull out the printed page I'd tucked there hours ago, a copy of Arizona's statute protecting residential flag displays. You might want to read this, I say, handing it over. State law supersedes HOA bylaws when it comes to flagpoles, especially when they're under 25 feet and displaying the national flag. Meredith's lips part. For just a second, her mask of polite superiority slips. Where did you get this? It's public record, I say, my voice steady. And before you threaten legal action, you should know I've already spoken to a lawyer. A tense silence settles between us. I'm aware of every cicada buzzing in the darkness, every distant bark from the next block over. Ben steps up beside me, arms folded. You're not going to bully her into taking it down. Cheryl looks like she's about to combust. This is outrageous, she hisses. This entire neighborhood is going to look like a cheap carnival. Jenna snorts. You say that like it's a bad thing. For the first time, I catch Meredith studying me, really studying me, as if she's realizing I'm not the meek homeowner she thought I was. She shifts her clipboard to her other arm. You can expect further communication. I'm sure, I say, matching her level tone. Without another word, she turns on her heel and stalks off down the walkway, Cheryl scrambling to follow. I watch them go, the glow of my lights casting long shadows behind them. When the gate clangs shut, I exhale a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. My knees feel a little weak, but my chest feels strangely light. You were amazing, Jenna says softly. I shrug, trying to downplay it, but inside something clicks into place. Maybe this is what standing up for yourself feels like. Not loud and dramatic, just clear and immovable. Think they'll come back? Ben asks. Probably, I say, but so will I. We head back inside and I sink onto the couch, exhausted but wired. My phone is buzzing nonstop. Texts, missed calls, social media notifications piling up like confetti. When I finally open Instagram, I see that the video I posted earlier has blown up. Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. Some are supportive, some scolding, but most are people who've been exactly where I am, fighting petty tyrants in HOA meetings and city councils and classrooms. One comment sticks out, "Thank you for not backing down. You're braver than most of us." I stare at it for a long moment. It makes me wonder how many of us are waiting for permission to be loud, to be visible, to stop apologizing for wanting to belong without surrendering our dignity. Jenna nudges me gently. You okay? Yeah, I say. I think I am. We spend the next hour scrolling through the comments, occasionally laughing at the memes people have already made. Someone dubbed my yard the Liberty Beacon, complete with a little eagle gif. And even though I know tomorrow will bring more threats, more drama, maybe more fines, I can't help feeling like something has shifted. Because no matter what Meredith or Cheryl does next, this flagpole is still standing. And so am I. By the time I wake up, my phone is practically vibrating off the nightstand. I squint at the screen, hundreds more notifications, including a string of texts from numbers I don't recognize. Jenna's already up, brewing coffee in my kitchen like she lives here now. She glances over her shoulder, smirking. You've gone viral. I rub my eyes. What? She slides her phone across the counter. There's a video on Twitter. Somebody driving past my house last night, recording the flagpole blazing like the finale of a fireworks show. The caption reads, Arizona woman tells her HOA to shove it. Overnight, it's been shared by local news accounts, a couple of veteran groups, and even one celebrity whose name I have to read twice to believe. Holy crap, I whisper. Jenna grins. You're basically the Rosa Parks of HOA nonsense. I try to laugh, but my stomach flips. It's one thing to stand up to Meredith with a few neighbors watching. It's another to have the whole internet cheering you on, or judging you. While we sip coffee, I scroll through comments. Most are supportive. Some are snide. A few accuse me of being unpatriotic for disrespecting HOA rules, which feels like the most backward logic I've ever heard. I think about replying to all of them, explaining my side in perfect, reasonable detail. But then I stop. Maybe I don't have to justify myself to strangers. Maybe the whole point is that I don't need their permission either. Around 10, there's another knock on the door. But this time it's not Meredith. It's a reporter from Channel 4 News, her hair perfectly sprayed in place. She holds a microphone and a cameraman stands behind her, adjusting his lens. Hi, she chirps. We were hoping to ask you a few questions about your flagpole. I glance at Jenna, who shrugs like, why not? So I step outside. The sun is blinding, the lights still wrapped around the pole, unlit, but impossible to ignore. The reporter smiles. Can you tell us why you decided to go ahead with this display despite the HOA's objections? I take a slow breath. Because it's my home, and because my dad spent 20 years defending the right to fly that flag. I'm not going to take it down just because a few people don't like looking at it. She nods, encouraging. And what do you say to those who think you're breaking community rules? I meet her gaze. I think rules that exist just to make someone feel powerful over their neighbors are worth questioning, maybe even breaking. When they leave, Jenna looks at me like she's seeing me for the first time. That was badass. I shake my head, but inside I feel it too, a new steadiness, like my spine has grown a couple of extra vertebrae overnight. Around noon, I get an email from Meredith with the subject line, Immediate Action Required. I click it open, bracing myself. Kelsey, in light of your continued noncompliance and the disruptive media attention you have brought upon our community, the board is prepared to levy the maximum allowable fine per day until the flagpole is removed and the lighting dismantled. If you fail to comply by 5 p.m. tomorrow, the HOA will proceed with legal action. I read it twice, feeling the familiar surge of heat in my cheeks. But this time there's no fear under it, only clarity. I forward the email to the lawyer I'd spoken to the week before. I also take a screenshot and post it to Instagram with the caption, They can find me, but they can't silence me. Within an hour, the post has another 1,000 likes. A local veterans group comments, We stand with you. I'm still staring at the screen when my phone rings. It's an unknown number, but I answer anyway. Kelsey Hartman? A man's voice says. Yes? This is Brian Marks with Channel 9 News. We'd like to feature your story on the evening broadcast. Would you be available for a live interview tonight? I almost laugh. Sure, why not? After I hang up, Jenna pumps her fist in the air. You're going to be famous. Or infamous, I say, but secretly I don't mind either. When the evening news van pulls up around 6, a little crowd forms on the sidewalk. Neighbors I've never spoken to stand there with their arms crossed, some curious, some openly supportive. One woman I've only seen in passing comes up and squeezes my hand. "My dad was a Marine," she says softly. "He would have loved this." I swallow the lump in my throat and nod. "Thank you." The camera goes live just as the sky turns dusky purple. The reporter introduces me as the homeowner at the center of a viral HOA dispute. I take a deep breath. "My dad used to say that loving your country doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone," I tell the camera. "Sometimes it means standing up for your own patch of it, no matter how small." And as I speak, I realize this isn't just about a flagpole anymore. It's about refusing to shrink myself down to fit somebody else's idea of what's appropriate. When the broadcast ends, the reporter thanks me, and the van drives away. Jenna loops her arm through mine. "You know Meredith is watching that right now, right?" I grin. "Good." We stand there together, watching the last bit of sun dip below the rooftops, knowing tomorrow will probably bring another battle. But for tonight, it feels like I've already won. The morning after the live interview, I wake up to so many notifications that my phone freezes when I try to open them. It takes me a full minute to restart it, and when I finally get it working, I see that my inbox is overflowing. Requests for interviews, messages from strangers thanking me, and more than a few angry notes calling me selfish and unneighborly. But none of that rattles me anymore. Because in the quiet space between all the noise, there's a new certainty that I'm allowed to take up space, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. I make coffee and stand by the kitchen window, staring out at the flagpole. In the dawn light, it looks less like a provocation and more like a lighthouse, steady and sure, even when the tide rises. Around 9, there's another email from Meredith, this one longer than any before. I brace myself as I read. "Kelsey, given the recent media attention and the conflicting interpretations of Arizona statute regarding residential flag displays, the HOA board has voted to suspend all pending fines and legal action until further notice. We will be consulting our legal counsel for clarification. In the interim, you are permitted to maintain your flagpole and lighting installation." I read it twice, then a third time, feeling the tension that's been wound around my ribs for days finally start to loosen. I forward it to my lawyer, just in case, and then to Jenna with the subject line, "We won." She calls before I can even put my phone down. "Holy crap," she yells into the receiver. "I'm coming over." 10 minutes later, she's on my doorstep with a bottle of cheap champagne she probably bought on the way over. "You did it," she says, wrapping me in a hug. "We did it," I correct her. She steps back and looks at me with something close to wonder. "Do you realize you just took on the HOA and won?" I laugh. "Not officially, but they blinked first." We pop the champagne at 10 in the morning because, honestly, why not? Ben swings by on his lunch break to toast with us, and Kelly walks over to say congratulations. Even Rick drops by, tipping an imaginary hat as he surveys the flagpole. "This is going to be neighborhood legend," he says, grinning. The year Kelsey Hartman refused to back down. After everyone leaves, I sit on the back steps alone, cradling my coffee and staring up at the flag fluttering in the breeze. I think about my dad, how he used to tell me that real courage isn't loud. It's quiet and stubborn and shows up in the moments you least expect it. And I think about how many times I've apologized for taking up space, for speaking up, for refusing to be small. I remember reading about this #set boundaries movement a year ago, scrolling past post after post about women who finally decided to say no. At the time, I thought, that's nice, but not me. But maybe it is me. Maybe it's all of us. Later that afternoon, Channel 9 runs a follow-up segment. They replay my interview and show footage of the flagpole lit up against the night sky, calling it an unexpected symbol of defiance and community pride. I scroll through the comments, and one in particular makes me pause. If the people around you are angry that you stood up for yourself, maybe they weren't really on your side to begin with. It hits me in the gut, not because it's harsh, but because it's true. By evening, the neighborhood is quieter than it's been in days. Meredith hasn't emailed again. Cheryl hasn't lurked by the fence with her phone. For the first time, I feel like I can breathe without expecting a fight. Jenna texts me one last time before bed. "You okay?" I look around my living room, still littered with empty coffee mugs and champagne glasses, and I smile. "Yeah," I type back. "I really am." When I crawl into bed, I feel something I can't quite name. Not triumph, more like relief mixed with a sense that I finally come home to myself. I close my eyes, listening to the soft whoosh of the ceiling fan, thinking about how all this started with one letter on my door. A letter that was supposed to shame me into backing down, but instead, it cracked something open. A question I can't stop turning over in my mind. What else have I been too afraid to fight for? In the darkness, I promise myself that this is just the beginning. That from now on, I won't apologize for loving something enough to defend it, whether it's a flag, my own dignity, or the simple right to live without being constantly policed. And as I drift to sleep, I know this. The flagpole is still standing. So am I.